Thank you so much, Dr. Dere. So we are going to just talk about a couple of questions from your talk. And I think what's really pressing on everybody's mind is how much do you like the movie Back to the Future?
Well, I watched it several times.
We have to make sure of that.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, could you explain a bit about the difference between episodic memory and episodic-like memory?
Well, the difference between episodic memory and episodic-like memory, the latter term we use for animals, is that we're not quite sure whether these animals also experience this type of vividness we do. If we remember something that has happened to ourselves, we relive this situation somehow. We have like the emotions we had in the situation to a reduced level, of course, but we are aware that this has happened to us. For animals, it's not clear whether they really relive this past episodes or whether they just remember what happened and where and when, and that it happens to them, but it's maybe not so vivid for them.
More like a reference rather than a whole lot of detail.
Yeah.
What, I guess, predisposes an animal for you to expect that it might be capable of mental time travel? Are there certain traits that you identify?
Well, in terms of the neuroanatomy that we need for mental time travel, like for episodic memory, for example, the hippocampus, we also have these brain structures in animals. And the basic physiology and neuroanatomy, at least in mammals, is similar to humans. So they have the hippocampus to provide a context of an event. They have a prefrontal cortex that might be important for the perception of sequence of events, and they have like an amygdala, which is a brain region that is important for the processing of emotional stimuli. And episodic memory is an emotional type of memory that is activated if we are emotionally aroused. So they have all the brain structures necessary to generate an episodic or episodic-like memory. And given the fact that they are indeed able to form these multimodal memories, like associating temporal information, spatial information, and event information, it is quite likely that they have an elemental form or more rudimentary form of episodic-like memory.
So I would imagine that when people hear what you do, they get a little excited. Maybe they share examples that they think are examples of episodic memory.
Yeah.
And my question is, what is a common flaw that you see people thinking it looks like episodic memory, but it's actually not really? Does that ever come up?
Yes. I mean,
and in other species.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that we really have to demonstrate that the animal remembers a specific past event that, and also in terms of what, where, and when. So in order to really be sure that the animal is remembering a specific event, we have to control the situation where the animal makes this experience. So we can only tell that something is kind of an episodic-like memory if we have this information from an actual experiment where we controlled the conditions where the animal has made this experience, and where we defined the behaviors that would indicate that it remembers all of these elements. So from everyday life, it's quite difficult to avoid over-interpretations. Like it's the same holds true for humans. I mean, we all assume that, for example, we have or can build episodic-like memories, but when it comes, for example, to patients, you have to really demonstrate that this patient is still able to form episodic memories. For example, in a number of neurological conditions where, for example, patients underwent brain trauma, they might be still able to remember childhood life events, but they are unable to form new episodic memories. So even for them, we have to measure the ability to form new episodic memories.
Get rid of the assumptions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, again, in the interest of time, our guests here in Phoenix can maybe catch up with you over the lunch break.
Yes.
But it's been great speaking with you, and we'll be back shortly with Heather Bemonte-Nelson and How Do We Know More Tomorrow Than We Do Today? The Behavioural Neuroscience of Learning and Remembering.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.